Hey, this is Adam Torres, and I'm here to tell you that it has never been easier to start your very own podcast. At Mission Matters, our goal is to amplify stories that matter. That means we want to help you start your podcast because your story matters. We can do this in 3 different ways. 1, join our podcast school and take a free or paid course. 2, visit our resources page where we've already figured out what you need, such as where to host your podcast. Or 3, heck, we can even do everything for you through our podcast agency, including editing for cheaper than you can do in-house. Oh, and no contracts, service is month to month. Get started by heading over to missionmatters.com and click on Start a Podcast. All right, now let's get into the show. Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Business Podcast, your source for all things business. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. Keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, today I have Dr. Joe Sallustio on the line, and he is COO of Claremont Lincoln University, and he's co-host of the EdUp Experience podcast. Joe, welcome to the show.
Adam, it's an honor. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
Oh, man. So I'm excited to get into today's topic, too. So we're going to talk about marketing and higher education. I mean, you have a unique vantage point being over there at Claremont Lincoln University. But before we get into that, let's go a little bit further into your background. So how did you get started in your career and kind of on this education path?
Well, that's funny you asked that. It's such an ironic story, and I tell this to people. You know, I was a school struggler, if you will. I really hated school, hated high school, hated college. I just wanted to get out and work. And to be dead honest with you, the fact that I evolved into higher education is really the opposite of everything I thought I would do. And in fact, I go back to a quick story. My mother, when I was sophomore year, I'd taken my gen eds in college, and I had to pick a major. And my mom says to me, you know, Joe, what are you interested in? And my answer was absolutely nothing. So the fact that I have gone on to work in education for nearly 20 years and get a doctorate, I continue to learn, continue to invest in myself is an ironic, she reminds me all the time how ironic it is that I ended up in education. But it's a passion, it's a love, it's a I don't know, it's like a puzzle piece fitting when I went to work in education, and I've been there ever since.
Man, what a great story. I love it. And so let's, for those that aren't familiar, tell us a little bit more about Claremont Lincoln University so the audience to have a good feel for what you're up to.
Yeah, so Claremont Lincoln University is a graduate university. So all the programs that we offer are at the graduate level, master's degree programs. What makes Claremont Lincoln University unique is our curriculum, all right? So our mission is based in the golden rule to treat others as you want to be treated, and around ethical decision-making, ethical business decision-making. And so all of our curriculum comes with a certain socially conscious bend to it. We teach 4 key skills in our curriculum for all of our graduate students, and those skills are mindfulness, dialogue, collaboration, and change, right? You have to know yourself. You have to know how to talk to people respectfully, especially those that disagree with you. You have to learn how to work together, even when you disagree, to create sustainable change. And so we have really, it's like the new liberal arts education for the 21st century. We know technology and the 4th industrial revolution is coming. Technology is taking over our lives in every way possible. And people forget how to interact. They forget how to work together. And that's what we teach at Claremont Lincoln University. And so all of our students go on to create some sustainable social change to make our world a better place. And so they're very driven to do that. And so the university is growing very, very quickly. Enrollment has increased quickly. Our students are doing incredible things out there. And really, that's what I have to say. It's just an incredible, incredible education and incredible place to work.
Man, that's awesome. And I think that's a great transition because I know you have a unique vantage point working there. So marketing and higher education. I mean, this is a big topic to cover. I know there's only so much we can do in a 15-minute podcast episode, but I do want to cover some ground. So where do you want to start with this one?
Well, I could talk for 50 minutes or 550 minutes about this topic. here's the thing, Adam, that when we're talking about marketing in higher education, the first thing that everyone has to realize is that the student is a consumer, right? Higher education does not typically look at students as consumers, right? You want to come into the university, I let you come in, you're privileged to be here. That's not the way higher education works today. Online education has been exploding, will continue to get bigger and bigger as we rely more on technology, as our lives become busier. People who are working adults are looking at online education. So the key there is that you are a student and you're paying your money for service. That service is educational delivery in whatever form it comes, whether it's on ground or online. If you don't get the service that you paid for, you will go to another company or another, in this case, educational institution, right? And so that gives the consumer power that they didn't used to have, right? And especially as there are more universities, and this will continue to evolve, offering online courses from your house in whatever state and whatever city you live in. You have choices all across the country, in fact, all across the world, where you can switch your institution, if you don't like the service you're getting, you don't like the product you're getting, you can change easily. And that's not something colleges and universities have been used to over the years. So student is consumer, has consumeristic tendencies, and then you have to tailor your marketing to a consumer. What do consumers like? They like things that don't cost a lot of money, right? And if they do cost a lot of money, they sure as heck want the value out of that product. They don't want to be taking on debt. And if they are going to take on debt, it needs to be at a reasonable level. And they need messaging that gives them something to believe in that's more than just a transaction, right? You're paying for service, but at the end, what are you getting? So there's a return on investment that has to be communicated. So when you're talking about students in marketing and higher education and students as consumers, you're talking about bringing in financial language to an industry that is a little dusty when it comes to financial language, right? We're talking ROI, fee for service, or service level agreements. I mean, the more we can understand that financial language in higher education, the better off universities will be when it comes to marketing. Does that answer your question, Adam? Because I want to make sure I'm hitting that topic appropriately.
So, Joe, where do you find that that a lot of universities, and I don't mean you'd have to pick on a specific one through name or anything like that. I just mean, like, where do you find a lot of universities or programs out there kind of fall short in this messaging or in this understanding? Because I usually like to start on, what do you see that's wrong?
Yeah, that's a good, boy, there's a lot to unpack in that question, let me tell you. I think the first thing, marketing is an industry that's very difficult to keep up with. You talk about the technology industry and marketing being a product of that. Digital marketing moves very quickly, where you learn a new skill today, and a week from now, there's some new algorithm, some new product that's out that either enhances your marketing or it's something you don't even know about. Look at social media. TikTok didn't exist a few years ago, and it's exploded. So you look at marketing moving quickly. So I think the main thing that's wrong is, or maybe it's not wrong, but it's not kept up with, is the speed at which marketing moves, right? So marketing moves very quickly, and schools, higher education typically does not. The student consumer gets an Amazon package the day of or the next day after they order it, right? That's the speed at which we have to commit to moving in higher education, which typically, and I'm saying typically because there are some fast movers and shakers out there, but typically higher education, if I said, Adam, give me the industries you think move the fastest, I don't think higher education will be on a top 10 list or maybe even a top 15 list, because typically you're talking about tradition and bricks and mud and mortar, and you don't go fast. And, so I think that's what's wrong, is the lack of speed, right? And to keep up with the trends that are out there. And then you look at science. Marketing is a science. You have to split test. And so if there's one key that I would have beyond looking at the student as a consumer, is to split test. split tester messaging. You have an A version, you have a B version. You put those in front of your new students or your incoming web visitors, and you see which one of those versions converts those potential students to students at a higher rate. And then you tailor your messaging to the one that works better, and then you test version C and version D and version E, and you continue to iterate. And I think those are the two things that I would say specifically when it comes to marketing that need to be improved upon.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And when you were saying, you know, what industries do I think do this well, and then I was thinking about it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine, like, if somebody, you know, some universities, not picking anybody, but I'm guessing at some point they might be having that discussion 2-3 years later about TikTok. TikTok's not even around anymore, maybe. Who knows, right?
Exactly.
And they're like, whereas, you know, those that were a little bit more opportunistic or that could move a little bit faster had already kind of maximized or used the platforms for its worth, and now they're already looking at what the next generation is using because possibly something else came up after that, right?
Exactly. And anybody who's any kids who are 18 years old and going into to college right now, the way that they expect to learn, and I'm not aging either of us, Adam, is different than the way you and I expected to learn. And so are we meeting expectation? That's the question. And is higher education meeting that expectation? And that's where marketing comes in. You got to do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah, I know. And you can age me. We used to have books when I went to college. They don't have books anymore. So age me, I don't care. I was in a college dorm maybe a couple of years ago. I forget why. And I remember looking around. I'm like, where are all the books? And they're like, books? We don't have books. This is all online. And I'm like, wait a minute. You don't have books? They're like, no. Sometimes they have workbooks or this or that. And I saw what they were doing. And I'm like, oh, my gosh. I'm like, that's when I aged myself, Joe. I'm like, oh, I guess I'm the old guy here.
Well, I'll tell you what I saw.
In my day, we had books, Joe.
Yeah, I saw an Instagram post the other day, or Instagram or LinkedIn, and it was the old brown paper bag that you would put over the book so that it would protect the book from.
Oh my God!
You know, you would make it like I don't know. You put it on like it was a book cover, right? So that and it says if you remember this, then you're old. And I thought, oh man, I remember that.
That's too funny. So, Joe, I want to spend a little bit of time on the podcast. So, tell us a little bit more about. I love supporting other podcasters and podcast shows and introducing and those to my audience. So, tell us a little bit more about the EdUp experience and what listeners can expect, because I want my audience to go check it out.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much for that question. The EdUp experience is a passion project for me and my co-hosts, two co-hosts. I have Elizabeth Leiba and Elvin Freitas. He does a lot of the producing for us. The EdUp experience is a higher education or education-focused podcast. We have people on the podcast as guests ranging from ed tech, higher education, college presidents, university presidents. We have guests including influencers, media influencers. And the idea is that you're edding up, right? So every episode that you listen to, you're going to walk away with something that you didn't know before. It could be college openings. It could be how colleges are changing the recruiting. It could be ed tech trends that are out there. And so it's been growing rapidly. We're so excited about it. It's starting to, it becomes a time dominator with all the work you have to do to produce a podcast, as you know, Adam, I'm sure. But we're excited, and I think we're getting great feedback, and I would encourage everybody to go check us out, and we appreciate it very, very much.
Fantastic. Well, Joe, it's been awesome having you on the show today. If somebody wants to listen to the podcast or learn more about the university, what's the best way for them to do that?
All right, so the Claremont Lincoln University, the web address is www.claremontlincoln.edu. And there you can find all the information about our graduate programs and contact me directly. And the podcast is www.edupexperience.com. You can see all of our episodes and hopefully ed up yourself along the way. So that's how to get a hold of me. And I'm on both of those sites. So if anybody wants to contact me directly, find me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram.
Fantastic. Well, Joe, really appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing more about your background and all the great work that you're doing. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave me a review on the Apple iTunes Store. And if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, Mission Matters Business, definitely give us a subscribe there, but also leave us some comments on the video. Love to know what kind of projects and things that you're working on. And Joe, thanks again for coming on the show.
It's been a pleasure, Adam. Thank you for having me.